Hey guys, and welcome back to the Thought Grub. I know it's been a while since I last uploaded a video. There has been a fair bit going on in my life recently. If you can't tell, there's a different background. I moved out of home, kind of, sort of, maybe, because I've gone from my parents to my grandparents, so that still counts, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not with my parents anymore, and I have my own space now, so that's been really good. I don't know, there's just been a fair bit going on. I've been busy finishing off my course. I'm a qualified health services assistant now, so I'm just kind of looking for work and sorting all that sort of stuff out, sorting out my next move. So I've just been a little bit busy and excited though. It's exciting, things are happening, I'm moving on, I am taking that next step in life. But yeah, there's just been a lot going on in my personal life as well, so yeah. So today's video, we're going to be talking about anxiety and some of the ways we can help deal with an anxiety attack. Some of the different coping mechanisms and strategies that you can try to help ease the anxiety, because I know this can be super hard because, boy, oh boy, have I been having my fair share of anxiety lately. But that's a story for another time. Like I said, there's been a lot going on in my personal life, and that's been meaning a lot of anxiety for me. So I thought, why not come on here and talk about anxiety and some of the ways that we can try and help an anxiety attack. It may not work all the time, but it's always good to have these things in place to try and help you when you need it. First off, let's just talk a little bit about the symptoms of an anxiety attack that you might experience. I know for me, the biggest one and the biggest telltale that I'm about to have an anxiety attack, and is pretty much what anxiety is this overwhelming sense of dread, worry, fear, nervousness, and it may not be over anything, it just happens and you just get overcome by this wave of that emotion. That for me is when I'm okay, well, it may not be that straight away, but you can feel it start to sink in and you can feel it start to come in, and when I notice that, I'm okay, I'm about to have an anxiety attack. So that's one symptom that you might get. Another is heavy breathing, heavy chest, fast breathing, increased heart rate. So you might find someone you might just start hyperventilating. That's a big symptom. I just basically explained hyperventilating. But yeah, just that overwhelming heaviness, that heavy feeling in your chest that you just can't breathe, difficulty breathing, it's not fun. And that's one that I get a lot too. I find I can just be sitting in bed and bam, out of nowhere, I'm just I can't breathe, I just struggle. I'm just another one I get too sometimes is that I'll shake a little bit from nerves. It you tremble or you get twitches. Another one that I do a lot is I shake my leg. My leg just bounces up and down. You can't really see that, but I'm doing it right now. And that's another sign of symptom of anxiety, because your body just needs to be doing something. So you'll shake, you'll tremble, you'll bounce. Even just picking at things. I know another one is I will start to just pick at my lips because I'm nervous and I need to be doing something to try and not be nervous. So I'm going to pick at my lips, I'm going to pick at my fingers, I'm going to dawdle and just play with things, or just, play with my rings, all that sort of stuff. So you'd pick at things, and you can sweat. Sweat is another one that a lot of experience when they get nervous or having an anxiety attack. They'll get really hot and they'll just start to sweat. People get nausea from anxiety. There's a whole heap of symptoms that are related with anxiety, and I'm only just covering some of them. There are a whole bunch that go with anxiety, and it was really not fun. So let's move on with some of the tips that I do when it comes to anxiety. Some tips that you can try to ease the anxiety attack, because I know that it really is not fun and sometimes you can't do much to help them. You just have to ride it out. But it's good to have these things. It's good to have some strategies and some coping mechanisms to try. Even if it distracts you for a little bit, they're good to have. So I wanted to talk through some of the ones that I use and do tend to help me a fair bit. So the first one I'm going to go into is one of the most popular ones and one of the easier ones to do. I'm talking about deep breathing. As soon as I recognize that I'm about to have an anxiety attack, I will just stop what I'm doing and just take deep breaths. I will breathe in, breathe out. And I'm saying taking long, deep breaths that are from your diaphragm and not your chest. So you're full on just letting the belly go out and back in. Like 5 to 10 deep breaths can be all it takes to help an anxiety attack. But sometimes I'm doing that for a good 5 minutes, just in and out, breathing. It really helps just so that you stop what you're doing and it grounds you. You can assess what you're feeling and what's going on. But also another tip I want to say is remember that the feeling will pass. It may not be straight away, it may take a couple hours, but don't ever forget that the feeling will go away. And that's something I have to remind myself a lot too, because there are some attacks that I get that it lasts like hours, and everything that I do, like, it does not help. And that's when I go to this technique and just say, like, it's okay to feel what I'm feeling, and it's okay to be anxious. It's okay that nothing's helping, but this feeling will pass and I will get through it. You need to remind yourself that, you know, it's not forever. Another one that I like to do a lot actually is write down my thoughts. I do this through writing poetry, but journaling is a real popular one with people who have anxiety. It gives us an opportunity to just write down how we're feeling, write down our thoughts. And it's good to do this before bed actually, because if you're like me and you struggle sleeping because of anxiety, it gives us a chance to write down everything that's on our mind so that when we get into bed, we don't have as much on our mind. But yeah, writing down your thoughts is very helpful. It helps you get out those emotions, and I do that through, like I said, poetry. I write a lot of poetry about like me having anxiety, me having depression, me having like just the feelings that I'm feeling, and I express them through my poetry, which is really helpful because sometimes when I am having the anxiety attack, I'll just open my laptop and write it out, and by the time I'm done, my anxiety's gone because I've expressed everything that I was feeling. Another strategy would be going for a short 10 to 15 minute walk or doing some yoga for 10 to 15 minutes. Any sort of light exercise that gets your endorphins going and releases that serotonin in your brain, which is the happy hormone, helps you get your mind off of what you're thinking about. Like going out and getting fresh air, going for a walk, doing some light exercise, dancing around your room. Hello, I'm the queen of doing that. I often will just like turn on my music and just dance till my heart's content, and that distracts me. Not only am I listening to my favorite music that like helps me, cheers me up, but I'm doing that light exercise and it's getting the endorphins going, and it does help. So that brings me to my next tip is listen to some music or watch a TV show or movie. So like I said, if I'm feeling a bit anxious or down, I will just go turn on my music, dance around my room, or I will turn on a TV show. At the moment, I've been binge watching Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. That's been really helpful because it's a combination of music and TV shows, which I love to watch. That's been a pretty big lifesaver for me, as well as my savior, Supernatural. I'll always throw that on if I'm getting anxiety or feeling down because that show got me through a lot and it continues to do so. So when I'm having anxiety, I'll throw that on. Or I'll throw like the Rocky Horror Show or one of my favorites on to distract me, so I'm watching it, I'm engaging into the movie and I'm not thinking about what's going on in my head. Another one is to do something with your hands. So this sounds so grandma, but pick up some yarn and do some knitting, do some crochet, start cross stitching, embroidery. Like they're actually really good activities to do because you're concentrating on the motion that you're doing with your hands. It's giving you something to do with your hands, but you're focusing on what you're creating at the same time. I did this a lot actually. I haven't done it in a while and I actually think I am going to start picking it up again. But cross stitch and knitting, just do something with your hands. If you're, I don't know what you like to do, but something that involves using your hands is a great activity to do to ease anxiety. Another one that I do that like if none of the above is starting to work, or I'll do this first, is I will go and have a hot shower or a hot bath or warm. Depends on how you like it, but it's just something about a shower or a bath that's like almost like a warm hug, especially like if you just stand in the shower and let it go on your back. It's so soothing and it's warm and it just feels like a hug and it just feels so good. I don't know, I just can't explain. I don't know why, but it does really help. Even if I'm having a really bad one and I go have a shower, by the time I'm done, I'm feeling a little bit better. Okay, now we're gonna get into some of the harder stuff that like does take a little bit of time to learn, and it does involve deep thinking. So it can be a trigger in itself, but learning your triggers, learning what sets off your anxiety. Now understand, anxiety is always changing and there's always new triggers. You might lose some some, you might gain some, and anxiety is always changing. And sometimes there is no reason for your anxiety, and I totally get that, believe me, because I've had my fair share of those as well. But learn what sets you off and how you can sort of like avoid them or manage those triggers. Like, I've really had to learn how to do this last year and this year as well, is managing my triggers. I used to let one of them rule me, and then last year I decided, no, I'm not dealing with this anymore, and I like managed it, cut it off to as much as I could, and you know, I've been feeling so much better for it. So you learn your triggers and you know what sets you off. It's easier to manage your anxiety that way, if that makes any sense. And another one I just want to add is to pay attention to your thought patterns, because you might be able to catch an attack before it happens. Because if you're paying attention to your thoughts, you might see, I don't know. What do you do when you have an anxiety attack? Do you see them or hear them? Like, you know, but you might catch a thought that is a trigger, and you might be able to catch it just in time and be like, hang on a second, no, that's not true. No, like that's not, I'm not doing that. And you're able to stop that thought process. And that takes a lot of practice, I know. Like, I've been seeing my therapist for 11 years, and that's something that's taken time and a lot of experience to be able to do, but it does help a lot. And I do want to say, talking to someone, seeing a therapist, a counselor, someone that knows, like cognitive behavior therapy, I think that's what it's called, yeah, is so good for managing anxiety and learning your triggers and learning to assess your thought patterns and pay attention to it. It also helps get like your thoughts off, like whatever's on your head, out into the world with someone that is outside of everything. They're trained to know how to help you, and they can help you come up with your coping strategies, because there are so many different ones, and I've only just covered some, and these are the ones that I tend to go to. Like I said, this is just what helps me, and it may not help you, but you may have learned something and you may not have, and that's okay. I just wanted to put my thoughts out into the world, and yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.